Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully, and welcome back to Final Fantasy II, where as you pray, a warm light says, "Wandering soul, return one from the darkness lost." And that lost one was... Gordon. He is back, but yeah, I mean, I figured for solidarity's sake, I might as well show off what happens when you go to a sanctuary, slash church, slash temple, whatever. It's pretty much where you revive your party members, even though we could easily do that anyway, since, you know, Guy has the life spell. But at which we've been doing a bit of leveling up, we did some dancing, and we did some dining in the hell, mainly just to level up spells and, you know, our characters and whatnot. But anyway, we have a wee bit of a sleep, and we can finally move on to greener pastures. You know, namely, saving the princess, as every typical RPGers have want to do. God, if this was a Legend of Zelda game, this would be the whole fucking plot. I mean, apart from maybe gather a number 3 Triforce, or get the 7 penises, or fucking what have you. Instant $1 billion, successful franchise. Well, hey. Because Nintendo. In any case, though, as we continue to sail the 7 seas, despite not being in the Navy, yeah, we also get to fight against birds and killer fish and sea dragons. Oh no. But yeah, contrary to what I said beforehand, we're not exactly going to Palamesia just yet, but rather a little Colosseum on the outskirts. So yeah, I mean, again, as the, you know, Kingdom of Fynn Knight, God, what have you, the guy that I gave a silly voice, which could mean absolutely anybody at this stage, yeah, basically, that's where the princess is being held in a tournament, and, well, yeah, I mean, you might be thinking, hey, this is kind of like that bit in Star Wars where, no, the princess wasn't being held in a competition. I mean, bear in mind, this was years before the prequel even came out, so you can't even use Attack of the Clones as, like, an example, because Padme wasn't a princess, and she also sort of got away out of it by, like, hitting a feral animal with a chain and, you know, fighting a shitload of robots. Oh no. Could this be the point where Star Wars no longer has any fucking meaning in Final Fantasy II outside of people who only play like the first 15 minutes of the game and just thought, "There it's Star Wars!" Could this running gag be at an end? Oh, thank fuckity Christ, said the viewers of the Solidus-Skully. But yeah, all that aside though, a lot of what this early battle Sugar-Me-Do is really to sort of showcase against these killer fish and hawk-winged birds or whatever. Helldivers, I think they're called. Oh wow, hell in a Final Fantasy game. Who would have figured? I'm surprised they didn't call them like, oh no, they're like underworld birds or some fucking shit. I don't know, censorship is a fucking weird beast. I mean, Japan allows certain things to be es bueno, but then in the West, el diablo. It's a bit of cuculabanza in me mind. But yeah, I mean, our roles pretty much stay the same here, and I think it's around about this point where I start outfitting Gordon with the bow weapon. Again, you can pretty much row him back and pretty much have him in a similar vein to the Knights, actually, where, you know, they shoot bows and arrows at you. You can pretty much have him row backwards and, you know, take pot shots at them, but yeah, I never really do that, and yeah, the flame bow was pretty much me just sort of showing the weapon for solidarity's sake. Still don't use any of the bow weapons, but in the meantime, however, it does come in handy here as we tackle the antlions. And not to worry, you don't need to get Tella, a jewel from an antlion, circa Final Fantasy IV or whatever. But I only really brought that up. Well, one thing, because I wanted an excuse to yell out the name Tella, the useless wizard of Final Fantasy IV who gets gradually worse throughout the game, and whatever. But yeah, the desert area generally does give you some of the more, you know, dangerous threats throughout the game, which are good for grinding, and yeah, in terms of the outlions, weak to fire, so yeah, burn them up. Also weak to Scourge as well, so you know, keep that ability handy on you, and all that aside though, not really too much else to say, so yeah, tackle these antlions to your heart's content. I don't know if antlion is like a fantasy species, or it might be like a subspecies of insect. I'm not really too sure. I mean, we do have bull ants that exist in the real world, so who knows, really. Oh, then again, fire ants as well, whatever. I'm not really too up on my insect, you know, entomology, really, so, yeah, neither here nor there in this case. As for any other threats you'll be facing all throughout the desert, you will face, Well, again, as you'll be seeing quite soon, you'll be facing, like, flying stingrays in the desert? Not really sure if that works, but fantasy world, I guess I could adapt. For some bizarre reason. But, yeah, I suppose, you know, now that we have a bit of a lull in terms of anything that we're here to do, and I bring out my handy-dandy tangents, yeah, speaking of bow weapons that I've currently equipped Gordon with, what better time than now to talk about, yeah, one of the dummied out elements of the NES version was actually going to include the death bow, which was basically, you know, a bow element with a status effect added to it. Again, to use an example, Gordon's flame bow obviously has a fire element to it. But yeah, the death bow would have had the elemental spell Death, which, again, in Final Fantasy terms is basically an instant kill spell where, again, you cast Death on an enemy and, while there is a little bit of RNG and chance involved, yeah, Death will pretty much strike them above and, claim an enemy's soul. Can be quite useful, but I wouldn't recommend using it unless, of course, it's either highly leveled or, you know, the RNG just happens to work with you, really. But either way, it is still powerful, and I will be showing off the death spell, you know, by the time that I get it, and, well, let me tell you all, it's, pretty fucking morbid. But yeah, it was cut from the game for unknown reasons, and, you know, as a result of that, we never see Death again. But, I don't know, I mean, I suppose it was nerfed to, you know, to have a bit of a random chance kind of rate. I guess part of which is purely to, you know, add, like, a wee bit of, you know, difficulty balancing, because, I mean, again, if it was a spell that sort of worked effectively every time, then, you know, you pretty much have no game, really, but, I mean, even then, you know, the whole spell system of Final Fantasy II where you have to level up individual spells does kind of incentivize you to, I don't know, utilize other abilities and elemental statuses, and, yeah. So whatever, I can kind of see why they don't really utilize it too often. I mean, even in that case, if you want like a one-hit kill spell, you're better off just, well, using Doom, which I don't think is a spell in Final Fantasy at this game specifically, but that's neither here nor there in this case. But yeah, we're just gonna settle up out here, and then we'll set up a cottage right outside our enemy's front doorstep. I don't know, I mean, it's like setting up a fucking chalet in front of fucking Stalin's house or whatever. In any case, so, yeah. This is also where we got our first face-to-face encounter with the Emperor, so let's meet him. May you fight well this day. To the victor goes Hilda, Princess of Fynn. Oh, dearie me. Oh no, by the way, for the Emperor I did try and go for a bit of a voice that sort of matches like a deeper resonance version of the voice that I gave for Furion, but yeah, I'm not really too sure how that's really gonna pan. I mean, again, I didn't want to give him like the traditional, like, Bishonen kind of voice you usually see in every fucking anime whatsoever, but I don't know. Like, I mean, again, I kind of want to mirror like the earlier story drafts where, you know, like in some cases they wanted to have the whole like, oh, be careful young Furion or you'll turn into the Emperor because if you're given to your anger, you will die. But yeah, either way, this is the Behemoth. A powerful looking enemy and one I weirdly enough associate more with Kingdom Hearts than I should do Final Fantasy, which is kind of bizarre, but yeah, big enemy, but one that doesn't exactly have a lot of power to back it up, especially considering where we are in the game at this stage, so yeah, we're pretty well good to go. Yeah, because of the fact that I also ended up using stop magic on the enemy, it doesn't exactly have a chance to really do anything. So again, I don't know if it has any magical abilities, but I suppose it does hit hard, I guess, but yeah. Despite the fact that it is blessed with a different boss theme, it doesn't really do much of anything really, so yeah. Taste the holy X, motherfucker! Yes, holy 10. By the way, to kind of reiterate, yeah, spells only go up to a level of 16, and, you know, in typical level up fashion, they do get harder to level up as the game progresses, but there is only Well, okay, there are a few spells that I do level up to 16, but, yeah, only one that I really go out of my way to do, and, lo and behold, it's one of the last and also one of the hardest spells in the game to level up, but, yeah, it's neither here nor there in this case. And that's also why I completely glossed over the behemoth. It didn't do nothing in life, and now it is dead. Nobly fought. Now let us give you your just reward. Here is your reward. A reward befitting of a rebel, Furion. Throw them in a cell. Aw, man, now we're stuck in jail again. But not to worry, because if I know an old friend of mine, he's on his way to rescue us. Lights out, dude! This is for rescuing me from the mines. I always pay back my debts. Now get out of here before they catch you. Oh, Paul, you saved us. You know, just like that moment in Star Wars when, you know, Paul Skywalker tried to rescue his friends except he fucked up. Oh. Oh wait, that had nothing to do with Star Wars at all. Final Fantasy II was growing into its own game, which is clearly representative of the game growing its own identity and not ripping things off, like Final Fantasy I ripping off Dungeons & Dragons, or Final Fantasy II ripping off Star Wars, or Final Fantasy III ripping off my ass, and Final Fantasy IV ripping off Final Fantasy II, and Final Fantasy V ripping off... I don't fucking know anymore. Again, if you couldn't tell with my facetious commentary all throughout throughout this game, yeah, anybody who's still making tenuous fucking Star Wars comparisons, you know, apart from me, which I'm doing so purely for a facetious fucking aggro statement against people who continue to make them, yeah, this has about as much to do with Star Wars as fucking, I don't know, Doctor Who, really. So, yeah, let this be the end of all the fucking Star Wars jokes. Once and future forever-ish. But yeah, as we continue to make our escape, we must save the princess. But, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all there is. There isn't really much else to the dungeon right beneath the Colosseum, so... Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much just a case of find the princess, save her life, and then pretty much go on your merry way. As we pretty much conclude the last of the Gordon story... Well, someone conclude the last of the Gordon storyline, but also a little bit more-ish, maybe, what have you? I mean, again, it's all sort of playing into Gordon's arc here, where he goes from cowardly prince to a kindly king. And again, it's also here where I suppose in retrospect I probably should have shown off the alternate scene where Hilda chews out Gordon for, you know, running away and abandoning his posts, whereas, you know, later on when we're not being fraught with monsters... yeah, Hilda eventually falls in love with him and, you know, they both set up a new kingdom in the endgame. But yeah, since we do have a bit of, you know, lengthy stretch of gameplay to sort of talk about, I might as well actually start talking about some, turkey trivia about, some of the original plots of Final Fantasy II. Because again, there was actually a bit of a wild changes, between drafts compared to what we have now. Because in fact, the original plot of Final Fantasy II was about three brothers vying for the throne. I mean, I guess if we could compare them to some of the characters we have now in the current version, again, assuming that my information is correct, again, the three brothers, I'm guessing were probably like a Scott, Gordon, and possibly an early version of Emperor Mateus? Although, again, I suppose that depends upon whether or not, you know, he was, you know, one of the three brothers or was written in later, I don't know. But either way, they were basically having petty wars and, you know, struggles and with one another. That was eventually taken advantage of by monsters from a neighboring kingdom that sought to destroy them. Which, again, does actually give, you know, the monsters of Final Fantasy II a little bit more of a civilization, so to speak, so... Again, whether the Emperor would have been, you know, the brother of Scott and, Gordon, or whether or not, you know, potentially, Emperor Mateus would have been like a, you know, a demon emperor from hell who would have led the monsters to, you know, destroy the three brothers' kingdoms. I can't exactly say for certain. But, yeah, all the same, the only things that remained from this version was the town name of Altair, as well as the characters of Paul and Joseph. But apart from that, all those other elements apparently went into Romancing Saga. So, I mean, again, it's good that Square Enix did see a potential great story there and did give it its own sort of game. Then again, I haven't played Romancing Saga, although, again, given that it does carry over the gameplay of Final Fantasy II, I probably should at some stage, but again, that's an investment for the future. Now, I did briefly bring up the second draft a while back, but yeah, there were actually a few differences in that plot as well. One of which I can't really spoil, well, it's a bit of a spoiler and a clue really, is that, yeah, compared to the main story, where Leon is persona non grata for a vast majority of it, yeah, Leon was actually intended to confront the party multiple times, after you were separated at the beginning of the game. But yeah, the second draft does more or less resemble the final game, but differences begin when you get to Salamand, really. And again, a lot of what I mentioned beforehand with a lot of Firion's character ended up being cut by the wayside in the final version, where, again, that would have included, Minryu's whole, guiding Firion on the path of the light so that he doesn't, let his anger cloud his judgment, and, then there's a whole, like, oh no, Firion, don't be angry and evil, because otherwise you'll turn into the Emperor. And that also would have included a small subplot where the rebels would have suspected Firion of being a spy and a traitor, which, does kind of make me wonder whether or not they would have eventually worked in a bit of a later plot point in this game into, an earlier version, but I don't know, I guess it's neither here nor there in this case. But yeah, and then we finally got the version of Final Fantasy II as we know it now, where the plot is pretty much relatively the same, except that it just gave Firion a fuckload less to do, which, I mean, to be completely honest, again, I guess maybe space limitations might have been a factor, maybe it just might have been, a plot point that didn't really end up going anywhere, but it is a bit of a shame that they did cut out a lot of Firion's, arc here, really, because, like, I mean, apart from maybe, like, the moment between, him and the Lamia Queen, where, he's seduced and, caught a virgin by the Japanese fans, and, Leila makes fun of him, Firion doesn't really get too much to do otherwise, really. Like, I mean, he is dedicated to the cause and, very stone-faced about it, and does have a bit of a crush on Maria, but all that aside, like, I mean, again, each character has a bit of a distinctive thing about them that you can remember. Maria's searching for Leon, and, she does have that bit of a crush on Firion, and, is very determined, and even she herself gets a few moments, like in the town of Puff when she rejects a sailor who's trying to hit on her. We have Guy speaking Beaver and, being very kind, compassionate, and, in tune with nature. Gordon with his whole cowardice arc. And even some of the smaller arcs, like, Joseph, being a hard-working man looking after his daughter. You have, bloody Leila being a sassy pirate queen. You got Princess Hilda even, managing a rebel army despite, the fledgling resistance and, her father dying and all that kind of shit. So again, like, I mean, Final Fantasy II does pretty good character work all around, it's just that Firion's got cut, and that's a bit of a shame, really. Again, maybe something a potential Final Fantasy II remake potentially could fix, but I mean, then again, in remake culture, as it is these days, it's less done for the factor of, hey, here's an old game, let's, use current-gen sensibilities and, technology to, see if we can bring this game to life. And more of a, this game is profitable, we have overinflated budgets, and it's a safe bet, so fuck it. We are the games industry, we don't know what we're doing, we make games, I think. And again, the only reason I'm not really being too facetious in regards to something like, say, the Final Fantasy VII Remake is that, well, I mean, again, that's more pseudo-remake, sequel, continuation, time loop, Esper fuck-around kind of bullshit, which kind of gives it a bit of a unique edge. I mean, again, say what you will about, 7 Remake and whether or not it's a faithful adaptation, but, I don't know, to me, its weirdness does sort of justify the end of its means to sort of, have unique properties about it. I don't know. Again, it's a bit of a weird mishmash between pre-sequel boot remake, but then again, that also really depends on whether or not you care about Final Fantasy VII and, its whole extended universe of whatever, really, which, personally, I wasn't really too heavily into, but acquiesced, really, but I mean, then again, it is kind of telling, really. Like, I mean, the games that could, actively use remakes that had potential to be great don't end up getting them, or if they do, it's pretty much an afterthought. And again, the games that don't need them at all are just pretty much done with the vestigial reasons of, like, well, we gotta remake this game because it's popular, because of the graphics, and because of other shallow reasons such as, well, it's the popular one, so let's remake it, cause fuck it. But oh dearie me, there's Granddad Skully ranting at the games industry again. Plot hole! But yes, all that aside, now we get to fight against, Death Flowers. That's scary. Why are they called Death Flowers, I have no idea. I guess they're meant to be Venus flytraps, but, A little bit strange, but whatever. Use fire against them and, yeah, torch some gardens, dude! And that's the end of the Death Flower. It died. Yeah, it's kind of bizarre that they don't actually include water magic in this game, because would water magic heal them? Well, I mean, I'd imagine it would, but then again, how would a Death Flower live if it is alive? Ho-ho! But yeah, go up those steps and you pretty much exit the dungeon area of the Colosseum. But in the meantime, however, we have a princess to save. And no, I'm done mentioning Star Wars. Never again. Fuck it, it's over and done with. Princess Hilda, hold on! We'll get you out of there! Hilda, are you alright? Gordon, I never thought I'd see you here. Gordon, take the princess and go. We will draw the guards' attention while you escape. Thank you, Firion. Do be careful. Truly, there will be a wonderful king and queen together. But yeah, not really too much else to do now, except to pretty much just get out of the dungeon and return to Altair. In any case, though, new enemies, yeah, parasites. Fitting with the name, they pretty much leech health on you. And again, an ability that I believe I coined as the sort of the blood sword ability, where they drain your health and add it to theirs. Not really too sure what these things' weaknesses are, so pretty much just go to town with physical attacks, use Holy to, you know, bleed the sin right out of them. Whatever's your poison, really, just kick the shit out of them before they have a chance to fuck you up. And weirdly, I'm kind of surprised that Scourge doesn't actually do anything to heal them. But yeah, I mean, just to, you know, err on the side of safety, I wouldn't recommend using the ability Drain or Sap on them, because I'm guessing that, well, they might also pinch some of your health, and, yeah, sadly, Barrier doesn't really do anything against them, so, you're pretty much left up shit creek and having to use your tongue as a paddle. But all that aside, though, I don't really have too much to say. Are they gonna drain my mup? Oh, they have no mup to drain. I don't like it when they don't have any mup. It means I have to use an ether. Or use an elixir. Oh dear. When enemies don't have any mup, they need to have more mup. And I need to find some more mup of trivia. That's my commentary mup. And you can tell when I'm running out of mup. When I'm repeating the word mup every single time. An abbreviation of magical points. But I call it mup. But yeah, to, you know, dissolve, dilute, digress. Yes, that believes to be the correct phrase. A perfectly cromulent word, if I do say so myself. Yeah, Final Fantasy II has actually hosted some cut soundtracks that were used in later Final Fantasy games, like the dungeon theme being reused for Final Fantasy VI, and a battle theme used for Brave Exvius. They don't exactly include these cut tracks in the soundtrack of the Pixel Remaster, sadly. I mean, you know, whether as something to listen to in the in-game optional menu or for, well, any other aspects of, you know, the in-game itself where they could have hidden it as an Easter egg, but yeah, I mean, you know, the Final Fantasy series did eventually use it later on. Like, I think in Final Fantasy VI, I recall it being used in the Magic House, I think? Or I might be remembering that, but yeah, either way, yeah, Final Fantasy tracks and either getting reused, remixed, what have you. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it is always fun to see that happen, but though, again, I think that also sort of depends on who's composing the soundtrack. I know Nobuo Uematsu usually has a tendency to do that quite a fair bit with his work, but yeah. I mean, again, you do have a few reoccurring motifs as well, like, you know, the Chocobo theme that does have several remixes and, you know, reappropriations all throughout the series, but that equates really Oh yeah, by the way, the fear ability, to kind of reiterate in case you forgot several parts ago, yeah, fear pretty much increases an enemy's chances of running away in battle. Shocky darns. I mean, I guess for the purposes of grinding, it's a bit of a useless ability. Because, I mean, again, I'm remembering in Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, oh, look, here I go again, mentioning Star Wars! Yeah, they did actually have a similar ability called Fear, Insanity, and I forgot the intermediate one, but yeah, basically it was pretty much a paralysis ability where, you know, enemies are so paralyzed with fear that they pretty much remain stuck for a set period of time. But then again, that was a game utilizing the D20 system, so again, it was pretty much running on Dungeons and Dragons logic of you know, set amount of turns for a spell to sort of last. Although again, I mean, Knights of the Old Republic wasn't really turn-based, it was more based on the D20 system, which is a weird mixture between like an active time battle system and a sort of bizarro fucking dice roll thing. Very experimental, but one that I doubt they're gonna keep with Fate of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic remake. Whatever the fuck happened to it, everything's being fucking remade these days, and it just makes me feel... Well, I mean, in a kind of a similar state to the music industry, really. It kind of makes me feel like, hang on, haven't I heard this song before? Like I'm fucking suffering dementia or some shit. Or just sort of leaving me wondering if, like, is this song new, or have I heard it before from somewhere from a much more talented artist? Like, I mean, again, I remember a similar thing happening with, like, I think it was like that Eiffel 65 song that got remixed by, like, some shallow fucking skanky slut fucking whatever song that got an EDM remix in, like, the last 2 or 3 years or so, and I was still thinking, hang on, isn't that made from a much better 90s techno song? Oh, I don't fucking know anymore. Grandad Skully needs a rest. Yes, rest. From the creativity-bereft people of this world. I probably could have taken that little boat back, but aqueist, fuck it. And, yes. You saved the princess. You're the best. Good job. You're the best. So yeah, we're pretty much getting Sid's airship to give us a lift all the way back to Altair, and, excuse me. Yeah, then well, again, we've pretty much got all ducks lined up in a row, so now we can finally begin to take the power back, so, yeah. As we take the airship and fly there with Sid, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep it new metal, and next time on the Final Fantasy II commentary, oh yeah, we're gonna have a bit of a rest up, and now we're gonna do something about the Empire that has taken over the Kingdom of Fynn. Catch you next time.